Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Ben Reynolds, producer and host of the Vent webinar series. We're excited to welcome you to this special webinar, The Best of Borneo, to explore the birds, wildlife, and wonders of its unique montane and rainforest ecosystems. Borneo is one of the world's most remarkable natural destinations, an island where towering dipterocope forest shelters some of the richest biodiversity on Earth. This is a place where wild orangutans swing through the canopy, Bornean elephants move quietly along the rivers, and an extraordinary number of bird species, including an array of dazzling endemics, await our discovery. Guiding us on this virtual journey is Vent Guide Scott Baker. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you, Ben. Hi, everyone.
Scott is joining us live from Melbourne, Australia. What time is it there this morning, Scott?
The sun's just coming up. It's early morning in Melbourne. So, yes, good morning or good afternoon, wherever you may be.
Scott has traveled extensively in Southeast Asia and has led numerous tours across Borneo. His keen eye for birds, deep knowledge of the region's ecosystem, and engaging storytelling makes him the perfect guide for today's presentation. Over the next hour, Scott will share highlights from our Best of Borneo tour, introducing you to the birds, mammals, landscapes, and experience that make this trip so special. He will also provide an inside look at what you can expect as a participant, from the famous canopy walkways to the chance of seeing Borneo's most iconic species. We're thrilled you're here today, and we encourage you to jot down any questions that come to mind. There will be a live question and answer session at the end. With that, let's get started. Scott, the stage is yours.
Hello and welcome, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and thank you for that introduction, Ben. Firstly, I'd like to thank Vent for providing me a platform to promote this specially curated tour of Northeast Borneo. It's one of my all-time favourite destinations. And I will mention that this particular presentation is arranged in a way that corresponds very closely to our actual itinerary as it stands for easy reference. So if you're looking for any more details, as in previous trip reports or upcoming itineraries, then head to the Vent website. Most of the images actually taken from our 2024 and 2025 tours, and also included a few sound recordings for added effect that are all fully credited. I will say, if you've not birded Borneo before, then do yourself a favour. I can guarantee that if you love birds and if you love wildlife, you will not be disappointed. And of course, I'm hoping that this may provide some inspiration, and perhaps you consider joining us for the upcoming tour program. We'll also quickly mention that this is a very gentle tour. There is, of course, some walking involved, but we generally avoid the steep, muddy mountain trails and try and cater for a range of abilities. There's often support vehicles in attendance if required. So this is a tour that I could honestly recommend to most people. On that note, let's get started. Okay, for some context, here is Borneo, situated in Southeast Asia's Malay archipelago. It's actually one of the largest islands in Asia and the third largest island in the world after Greenland and New Guinea. Importantly, it straddles the equator and consequently experiences a tropical equatorial climate that is relatively consistent and warm, humid conditions throughout the year, and high rainfall, particularly in the lowlands. And taking a closer look, important to note that Borneo is not a single country. It is, in fact, three separate countries. The northern states of Sabah and Sarawak that you see there together form Malaysian Borneo, and everything below that, the Kalimantans, that's north, south, east, west, and central Kalimantan, form the Indonesian component, which is about 70% of the island. In addition, there's the small independent state of Brunei up the top there. Our tour focuses exclusively on the northeast state of Sabah, which is Malaysian Borneo. Essentially, this is the most accessible part of Borneo, with some of the best habitat and the best facilities, including world-class eco-lodges. It's also a very safe and friendly environment, and importantly, harbours 90% of the endemic birds, including several that do not occur elsewhere. Sabah ticks a lot of boxes. Some of the stats that matter. So there are approximately 700 bird species that have been recorded in Borneo, and of those, 67 to 68 endemics. On a regular tour, we might expect a trip list of between 250 and 300 birds. Important to note that the bird life is essentially of an Asian character. That's evidenced by the prevalence of things like trogons, hornbills, barbets, woodpeckers, bulbuls, babblers, and laughing thrushes, for example. You can see here I've provided a list of some of the more prominent families, both in terms of species, overall species diversity, and the number of endemics. So 67 to 68 endemics, as I mentioned, which is a very high level of endemism. And that's a number that continues to grow, in part due to some taxonomic revisions. There's been a number of splits in recent years, but also a number of stunning new discoveries. And I'll just quickly mention that in the last 20 years, we have added the spectacled flowerpecker, the Maratus white-eye, and the Maratus blue flycatcher to the list, all of which were newly discovered, completely new to science. And in 2020, the spectacular rediscovery of the black-browed babbler. That was a species known from a single specimen collected in 1850 that had essentially disappeared for 170 years and was refound. So there's still new things being found. Biodiversity. So Borneo is renowned for its biodiversity. The tropical rainforests rank amongst the most biodiverse on the planet, up there with the Amazon and New Guinea for species per square metre. There's several factors, including the tropical climate and the complex geological history, that have contributed to this very unique and incredibly diverse flora and fauna. And here's where we start our tour. Kota Kinabalu. The coastal city of Kota Kinabalu is essentially the capital of Sabah, which importantly features an international airport and a well-serviced city centre. The population of about 500,000, which is, a nice sized city, big enough without being too crazy and congested. So this is where we start. And our first stop is the luxurious Shangri-La Resort. It's a 5-star resort on the beach, close to the airport. I'm sure you can appreciate the modern facilities and the top-rated restaurants. This is where we begin and conclude our tour, which is essentially a circuit of Sabah. This is my very brief guide to what to do in Kota Kinabalu. Taking note, this is not part of the official Vent tour schedule, but keeping in mind that after a long and somewhat convoluted flight from the US, there are no direct flights. You may choose to arrive early and recalibrate, or perhaps extend your stay. Anyhow, if you're looking for something to do, there are some options for sightseeing or snorkeling nearby, and this is one of those sites. Is the Tunku Abdul Rahman Marine Park, and that's only a 20-minute boat ride from Kota Kinabalu, and something that our hotel can arrange a day tour for. This is one of my favourite stops. It's another popular attraction is the Filipino fish market in central KK. If you're looking for that authentic Southeast Asian market experience, then this is the place. It's located on the waterfront with fishing boats offloading the day's catch directly to the vendor, basically as fresh as it gets. It includes a wet and dry market and an open-air restaurant area. Another image here. So you can enjoy some of the freshly cooked items at the many food stalls, or just sit back and soak up the atmosphere. And the Tanjung Aru Beach. I've included this because this is the beach that connects to our hotel. An easy 5-minute walk from the hotel, a popular picnic spot with locals, but it includes a stretch of coastal parkland and some more wild and overgrown areas, which can be good for birds. And a few birds of interest that we see here. Pink-necked green pigeon are quite common, collared kingfisher, grey-capped pygmy woodpecker, species we may not see elsewhere, pied triller, and long-tailed parakeet amongst the regulars. Here we go, a couple of parrots to look out for. We have the blue-nape parrot, which is in fact a native to the Philippines, but there's a well-established feral population at Tanjung Aru. Still, in fact, the only place I've seen this bird. And the lovely long-tailed parakeet, which is a Sundaland endemic. And by Sundaland, we mean a biogeographical region of Southeast Asia that includes Borneo, Western Indonesia, and Peninsular Malaysia. Here's a very cool bird, the Chinese egret, a scarce winter migrant that I photographed just outside of our hotel. It's a restricted range species, breeds in the Yellow Sea and winters in the Philippines and Borneo. One to look out for. Okay, so our first full day in the field is in fact day 4 on the itinerary, and we do a day trip to a place just north of Kota Kinabalu called the Tempasuk Plain. Here it is, a very scenic agricultural area featuring rice fields, natural wetlands, and some grassland areas, and it's one of the best places in Sabah to see migratory shorebirds. There's other wetland species like ducks, herons, egrets, wagtails, and various raptors that are also possible. Some of the varieties we may observe include Pacific golden plover, little ring plover, marsh sandpiper, wood sandpiper, common green shank, long-toed stint, and common snipe. Just a gentle, very pleasant introduction to Asian birding. Most of the birding itself can be done from the bus, and we have lunch at the local cafe. A couple of the regulars include the little ring plover and the long-toed stint, both migrants with a preference for fresh water and muddy edges, both fairly common at Tempasuk. Long-toed stint is the most abundant calidris, but there are other possibilities. We've recorded both redneck stint and Temminck stint there as well. And the black-winged stilt, not particularly widespread in Borneo, but we do see it at Tempasuk Plain. And the lovely oriental pratincoll, an elegant tern-like shorebird, a winter migrant, which we see regularly at Tempasuk, sometimes occurring in the hundreds. And one of the raptors is from our recent tour, the eastern marsh harrier. It's another winter visitor. I will mention that one of the advantages of travelling to Borneo in March is that we pick up some of these northern hemisphere migrants. You know, that is Tempasuk Plain. Okay, day 5, we depart Kota Kinabalu, an early start heading eventually to Tumbanam, but our first stop is the Crocker Range. Essentially, we enter into the montane zone where we're moving up into the mountains, and we have 5 days to explore a region which includes the Crocker Range, Mount Trusmati, and Mount Kinabalu. And this is where things get interesting, considering that 70% of all of the Bornean endemics are found at the higher elevations. So first stop is the Crocker Range, and starting at a place we refer to as the Gunung Alab substation, which is about 2,000 metres above sea level. And it's noticeably cooler at this elevation with a different vegetation. Some of the birds. Okay, here we have the blue and white flycatcher, which is a passage migrant from the northern hemisphere, and on the right, the little pied flycatcher, very cute, woofy-headed resident, and a fairly common montane variety. But both species are widespread in Southeast Asia, and both members of the old world flycatchers, that is Musca capidae, which are well represented in Borneo with 44 species. And the golden nape barbet, one of the montane endemics. It's a frugivore, but they will sit and call persistently from the canopy. Actually have a recording here, which I'll play for you. A very familiar sound for anyone that's spent any time in the mountains of Borneo. The Asian barbets occupy most of the forest types, both that's highland and lowland forests, and there are 9 species in Borneo, four of which are endemic. It's being a very nice example. And this stunner, the Bornean green magpie, another endemic, and what I would rate as one of the best dressed birds in Borneo. Incredible green plumage, the red legs, the red bill, and the black face mask produce a stunning effect. I was very impressed that this particular bird found a matching piece of plastic to perch on. Okay, the partridges. Partridges are very well represented. Partridges and pheasants are very well represented in Borneo. And this is the red-breasted partridge, also endemic. Common enough on call, which I also have a recording of, but it's a restricted range species and somewhat elusive. So we hear this one a lot, but it's much harder to observe. But Crocker Range does provide a few very basic hides where these birds are becoming more regular. So hopefully we have a chance of seeing this. I'm just going to play this recording. So that is a pair of birds duetting. They often work in small groups up the mountainside. There you go. And another endemic partridge is the crimson-headed partridge, another fabulous endemic, also known as the bloodhead. And they occupy a similar range and habitat to the red-breasted partridge, sometimes together, but the crimson-headed partridge tends to be a little more shy. For a bit of contrast, here we have the Temminck sunbird. So it's one of 10 species of sunbird that we hope to see. Sunbirds are part of a very large family ranging from Australia. We have one species right through to Africa, but the epicenter of their diversity is in Asia. In most cases, we have these brilliantly colored adult males and very plain female birds. I have to say the Temminck sunbird with that brilliant crimson plumage and the metallic purple crown stripes is one of my favorites. Fairly common montane variety. And a long-tailed broadbill, another very popular subject for photographers. This is a fairly wide-ranging species from the Himalayas throughout Southeast Asia, considered a mid-montane specialist. And this is the endemic subspecies Borneensis. Okay, and here we have one of the many botanical wonders. This is Rafflesia keithii. It looks like something out of a sci-fi movie. It is, in fact, one of the world's largest, rarest, and stinkiest flowers. It's a parasitic species that produces a smell like rotting flesh to attract flies for the purpose of pollination. Rafflesia is comprised of around 40 species, all of which occur in Southeast Asia. Includes the largest flower in the world, which is Rafflesia arnoldii, with a diameter of about 1 meter. This particular species is about half of that. And the Rafflesia keithii is actually endemic to Sabah and essentially just the Mount Kinabalu region. So the buds take several years to develop and open just for a few days. So we need to time it perfectly, but there's a sequential flowering opportunities. So we have a reasonable chance that somewhere there will be a Rafflesia flowering. Day 6, traveling from Tumbanan to Mount Kinabalu, starting our day at the Trusmadi bird hide near the entrance of the Trusmadi Forest Reserve. So this is a new addition to the program. We've only just confirmed this, and I've hurriedly included it in the presentation. Okay, so here it is. The Trusmadi Bird Station was only fairly recently opened in, I think, 2024, but it has quickly established itself as one of the must-do sites. As far as hides are concerned, it's a very comfortable experience. It's got easy access from the parking area. It's fully protected from any weather. Even has a functional kitchen with coffee and refreshments available, and a flushing toilet. As far as hides are concerned, pretty fancy. And here is the view from inside. We intend to spend basically a full morning at this location. It really does offer a rare glimpse into a secret world and very special experience. Some of the birds that we may encounter, that we hope to encounter, include the bull's pheasant, the crested partridge, and the Bornean banded pitta. They're all species that are seen rarely seen outside of a hide environment. In addition to those birds, there are some incredible mammal fauna. There's a great selection of squirrels and tree shrews that we are likely to observe, chance of mouse deer. And I will mention also some recent incredible footage of a clouded leopard strolling through this site. Certainly something worth keeping in mind. And without a doubt, the main attraction, or the headline act for this site, is the bull's pheasant, a rare and beautiful endemic that was up until recently in the near mythical category. It's probably the best place in the world to see this bird. There's a lot more a lot more images from Trusmadi I could reveal, but I've had to keep it to a minimum. Anyway, next stop is Mount Kinabalu. This is the highest peak in Borneo, and in fact the highest peak in Southeast Asia. It is a massive granite intrusion, in geological terms a pluton, that rises to a height of over 4,000 meters and absolutely dominates the surrounding landscape. Essentially, Mount Kinabalu functions as an ecological island and hosts a number of endemics. One of the most important sites in Borneo is a close-up of the distinctive jagged rocky summit. And our accommodation, Mount Kinabalu Hill Lodge, very comfortable individual bungalows set within the World Heritage listed national park itself, and just a 2-minute walk to the local restaurant. The obvious advantage is having birds literally at your doorstep, and access to the park outside official opening hours. And some of the best birding is just around the lodge itself. So we have 3 nights here, essentially 2 full days to explore this fascinating area. A little bit of history. So this is Mr. John Whitehead, an English explorer and naturalist who travelled the Malay archipelago, including North Borneo, between 1885 and 1888. In that time, he collected a number of zoological specimens. He's also the first documented person to reach the summit of Mount Kinabalu, and consequently had 16 species of birds and mammals named in his honour. 3 of those birds, the Whitehead's broadbill, the Whitehead's trogon, and the Whitehead's spider hunter, are what we refer to as the Whitehead's trio, a highly prized set of endemics, and 3 of our priority targets, all of which occur on Mount Kinabalu. Here they are. Okay, Whitehead's broadbill is a absolutely stunning endemic. It's the largest of the green broadbills, of which there are 3 species, and 2 of those endemic to Borneo. Despite the vivid plumage, they can be difficult to spot as they sit very quietly. But in 2024, we had a nesting pair and several memorable encounters, including this stunning male. And the Whitehead's trogon. Of the 6 trogon species in Borneo, this is a truly montane variety, and certainly another very classy endemic. They tend to occupy the mid-story, perching quietly and feeding on insects, are uncommon and easily overlooked. And here we are, our 2025 group, staking out the power station road. Most of our birding at Mount Kinabalu is along the power station road, which is we drive up to a certain point and we can walk down the road, and it provides great access to the forest. So staking out here for the whitehead spider hunter. And here it is. So all three of the whiteheads trio are a challenge, and none are guaranteed. But the spider hunter, from my experience, can be one of the most frustrating and difficult of the lot. It's a very distinctive member of the group, that very strongly marked underparts and the bright yellow vent. But they move around, they're not reliable at any one location, and tend to feed high in the canopy, flitting about and easily obscured. But we've managed to get all three on our recent tours. And another whitehead, this is the whiteheads, or the tufted pygmy squirrel. Common montane species, very tiny squirrel with these unmistakable ear tufts that feeds on tree bark and moss. And the Bornean forktail, another very attractive, well-groomed endemic. Like other members of the group, that is the forktails, they have a preference for rocky streamside habitat. Okay, day 8, essentially travelling eastwards from Mount Kinabalu to Sepilok. And this is the day we depart the highlands. It's a 5-hour drive east to the Sepilok Nature Resort, where we can expect a very different climate. It's much warmer and more humid, and a very different suite of birds. And our accommodation at the Sepilok Nature Resort, I think you'll find a very agreeable atmosphere. Includes a beautiful garden, ornamental lake, and a bird-friendly environment. Surrounded in tropical rainforest, and importantly, only 5 minutes drive to the famous Rainforest Discovery Centre. So the Rainforest Discovery Centre, known as the RDC, is one of those must-do sites that features in most of the birdwatching itineraries of Sabah. It's a great facility set in an old-growth forest reserve with this incredible canopy walkway. It's a 620-metre-long steel structure with several viewing towers, and provides a really great introduction to the lowland rainforest birds, and rare access to that upper story in what can be an otherwise very challenging environment. There's the view from the canopy walkway, superb panorama over the treetops. So the strategy is to arrive early, find yourself a spot, set up the scopes, and just wait for the birds to appear. And here's one of our targets. The Bornean bristlehead is perhaps the most highly sought after of the Bornean endemics. It's a very distinctive bird with red head and thighs, contrasting black body and shrike-like bill. Not only is it an endemic bird, but it's a monotypic family, that being the sole member of Pityriacidae, closely related to the bush shrikes of southern Africa. So they form small roaming parties feeding on insects such as katydids and cicadas, and the RDC is traditionally a hotspot for this species, but never guaranteed. We need a little bit of luck. And of course, everyone that visits Borneo wants to see an orangutan. They are one of the most intelligent and charismatic of the primates, and the only great apes of Asia. This young guy, I'm guessing is around 3 or 4 years old, was on the canopy walkway with mum nearby, keeping a very close eye on things. So we have a very good chance to observe wild orangutans at several of the lowland forest sites, including the RDC. I think we had 4 or 5 separate orangutan sightings earlier this year. And some of the birds, a bit of eye candy. Here we have the black and yellow broadbill, a common lowland forest species, and the very handsome Diard's trogon, one of several trogons we may see, most of which look quite similar. But we've got that pink collar and the black speckling on the undertail to identify this as a Diard's. And some more quality. This is the lovely rufous-collared kingfisher, a very shy resident at the RDC. And a bird that rarely fails to impress is the red-bearded bee-eater, in fact, a fairly common inhabitant of lowland rainforests throughout Southeast Asia. Indian cuckoo. On call, a fairly common bird of the lowlands, frequently heard, frustrating and difficult to observe. Sound recording here. The one more bottle call. Yes, one we are likely to hear and hopefully can observe. And some of the primates. So this is the North Bornean grey gibbon. Number of gibbon species in Borneo. And I would have to say the early morning whooping and calling of the gibbons is a fantastic way to start the day. So gibbons are primates, but they are not monkeys. They're members of a member of the family of the lesser apes. The most obvious feature to distinguish from monkeys is the lack of a tail. So 4 species recognised in Borneo, all of which, unfortunately, are in the endangered category. Another very rare shy primate is the Saban grizzled langur. We're very fortunate to observe this animal from the Canopy Walkway. We'll also mention that of the 22 primate species in Borneo, most of those occupy the lowlands. We don't get a lot of species in the montane areas. And moving along, day 12, we move from Sepilok to the Kinabatangan River. So it's only it's not a particularly long drive. It's about 100 kilometres south, but we move to the Kinabatangan River and our accommodation at the Hornbill Eco Lodge. So this is a newly refurbished resort on the Kinabatangan River edge. It's not a venue we've stayed in previously, but is getting some fantastic reviews and comes very highly recommended. We have 3 nights here, and I have no doubt it will be a superb and very comfortable experience. And I'll just try this video here. Okay, the Kinabatangan River is a major waterway, the second longest in Malaysia. It's a long, wide, slow-moving river, the lower reaches of which form part of the Kinabatangan Wildlife Sanctuary, an area of 26,000 hectares and regarded as one of the best places in Borneo to spot wildlife. It's probably best known for its populations of orangutans and proboscis monkeys and pygmy elephant, but it also harbours some incredible birds. This is a really fun part of the tour. Our entire exploration of the Kinabatangan is on boat. So we have morning and afternoon boat safaris, which gives us access to the forest edge, perfect vantage for viewing and photography while sitting back and just enjoying the view. Okay, some of the birds. This is the storm stork, one of the rarest of all storks, with a world population of around 300 or 400 birds. They have a range that includes river systems in Borneo, Sumatra and Peninsular Malaysia, but the Kinabatangan is the major stronghold. And, with 3 days on the Kinabatangan, I would expect this a fairly good chance. In fact, our 2024 tour, we had an incredible experience with, I think, a count of 19 birds circling together at the one location. It's like over 5% of the world population, one spot. And hornbills. Hornbills are very well represented in Borneo with 8 species, all of which are a chance on the Kinabatangan. It is a hotspot for hornbills. Fascinating group of birds. They are mostly frugivores and provide a very important role in dispersing forest seeds. And here are 2 of the regulars. The rhinoceros hornbill and the black hornbill. I will mention that it's believed those fantastic horn-like casques are resonating chambers to help amplify their calls. And here we have 2 of the rarer varieties, in fact, both on the endangered list. That is the wrinkled hornbill and the white-crowned hornbill. The wrinkled hornbill have very specific needs. They essentially require large tracts of pristine lowland rainforest, and consequently, numbers have crashed. That are still regular on the Kinabatangan. The white-crowned hornbill, with its spiky crest and long eyelashes, certainly makes an impression. It's a low-density species, but again, we have a fairly good chance at this location. And the oriental pied hornbill, probably the most common and widespread variety. And this is the male with the prominent casque. Although largely frugivorous, obviously not strictly vegetarian. And this particular individual, we observed pluck a endemic brown barbet from in midair whilst I was taking a photograph. And one of the tougher candidates, the Bornean ground cuckoo, is a large but very rare and secretive inhabitant. It's one of only 3 members of the ground cuckoos, the other being the Sumatran ground cuckoo and the coral-billed ground cuckoo. More often heard than seen. I've got a recording here which I'll play. This fantastic, strange, and almost haunting call. We hope to hear. It's a very tough bird to observe. Black-eared barbet calling in the background. Another tough target, the giant pitter. It's one of the largest and most difficult of the pitter species. This was actually taken on the Kinabatangan River from a boat in pouring rain whilst I was holding an umbrella and trying to focus the camera. So considering the conditions, a fairly good result. Here we go, the black and red broadbill. Another dazzling member of the broadbill family. Reasonably widespread in Southeast Asia and common on the Kinabatangan. It's one we see each day. They build very conspicuous, messy, domed nests that hang over the river. And the black-capped kingfisher, uncommon migrant. It's one of several species of kingfisher we may encounter on the Kinabatangan, including stalk-billed, ruddy, collared, blue-eared, and common kingfisher, also possible. Some of the mammals. Okay, so this is the proboscis monkeys. Proboscis monkey, one of the strangest of all primates and an endemic. I would say, along with the orangutan, are 2 of the most celebrated and iconic primates of Borneo. They have a habitat preference for mangroves and forests connected to river systems, also listed as endangered, but a very good chance on the Kinabatangan. They tend to travel in groups with a single dominant adult alpha male, which you can see here. The male's best known for its long nose, but it's a combination of features, including that pot belly, the long nose, the beady eyes, and that peculiar fur that produce such a unique appearance. And the Bornean pygmy elephant. So this is in fact an endemic subspecies of the Asian elephant, a rare range-restricted and endangered taxa. They're large but difficult to observe. Despite the name, the 2nd largest terrestrial vertebrate on the planet. The moon rat. This was a very exciting find on our 2024 tour. Quite a large mammal, probably 30-40 centimetres in length. And importantly, it is not a rat. It is a gymnor, which is the same family as the hedgehogs. And they live in the rainforest and feed on small vertebrates and fungi. And some of the other nocturnal possibilities include the oriental bay owl and the large frogmouth. So weather permitting, we may be able to do some spotlighting. We may even do a nocturnal boat safari. And a couple of the possibilities include these 2 birds. Large frogmouth. There's 6 species of frogmouth in Borneo, including 2 endemics. But, the large frogmouth is the most likely one at this location. And one of the civets, the small tooth or 3-striped palm civet, fairly common nocturnal arboreal mammal throughout Southeast Asia. There's at least 8 different species of civet that we can see in Sabah. We also do an afternoon at the Gomantong Caves. So this is just a day trip from our accommodation. So the Gomantong Caves are a series of enormous limestone chambers located in the Gomantong Forest Reserve. It's a significant nesting site for several swiftlet species, that is plume toad, white nest, mossy nest, and black nest swiftlets. And some of these, particularly the Aerodrama swiftlets, are close to impossible to identify with any confidence away from the nests, but they do have very distinctive nests. And the caves are also home to some 1 million bats. Here's the view from inside. So there's a boardwalk that enables some access. Being aware that the enormous pile of bat guano that you can see on the right there is covered in thousands of cockroaches and beetles, which are all part of a very special cave ecology. Fascinating site and a popular tourist destination. It's also memorably where Sir David Attenborough filmed the final episode of Conquest in the Skies, and that involved suspending Sir David at 80 plus years old in the cave 250 feet above the ground to view the evening exodus. Here we have the white nest, or the edible nest swiftlet. Those white nests are made completely of saliva, and also the highly prized ingredient for bird's nest soup, a Chinese delicacy they value for flavour and purported health benefits. So depending on the grade, these things pay up to $2,000 per kilo. That's approximately $50 per nest. And these nests are still harvested at Gomantong. There's a village actually at the cave entrance set up for this purpose. Another little video here of the bats emerging from the cave. So Gomantong Caves is home to over 1 million bats, represented by three main species. We've got the wrinkled-lipped free-tailed bat, the large-eared horseshoe bat, and the fawn leaf-nosed bat. For feeling energetic, there's a specially constructed platform that you can climb to observe the exodus, or just enjoy from down below. One of our big targets at the Gomantong caves are the bat hawks. These are distinctive and crepuscular falcon-like raptors ranging from Africa to New Guinea that feed largely on bats, and they roost quietly in the daytime and feed furiously in that evening period as the bats emerge. There's several other raptor species that hunt bats as they exit the cave. So there's the bat hawk, of course, the peregrine falcon, rufous-bellied eagle, and Wallace's hawk eagle all congregate in the late afternoon near the cave entrance. And the final leg of our journey, we travel to the Danum Valley Conservation Area via Lahub Datu. This is one of the most important and unspoiled lowland forest sites in Borneo, and staying at the renowned Borneo Rainforest Lodge, a very special destination. And here it is. The renowned Borneo Rainforest Lodge is an award-winning eco-lodge set deep within the Danum Rainforest and overlooking the Danum River. It's a very special setting, superior service, incredible food, and premium villas. It sets a very high standard, and I would rate this as perhaps one of the best venues of its type in Southeast Asia. Here's the view across the Danum Valley and the Danum River. So the Danum Valley Conservation Area is 438 square kilometres of relatively undisturbed lowland pterocarp rainforest. It's one of the oldest and most biodiverse forest systems in the world, and home to an astonishing array of birds, mammals, reptiles, and frogs. Here are some of the examples. Okay, here we have the Malaysian blue-banded kingfisher, a scarce inhabitant of lowland forest streams. And the Bornean crested fireback. That's one of the large endemic pheasants. Previously, it was the crested fireback, conspecific with the Malaysian crested fireback, but that has been split. Now it's our own species. And everyone loves a pitta. So this is the black-crowned pitta, is a very fine example. It's almost endemic to the state of Sabah. Reasonably common. It's probably the species we are most likely to encounter. One of 4 endemic pitta species. And another variety, the blue-headed pitta, also endemic. This is an uncommon resident and without a doubt one of the star endemics. I do recall that the original first edition Field Guide to the Birds of Borneo featured this bird on the cover. consistently rates as one of the most wanted for visiting birders, but it's very shy and elusive and difficult to observe. Actually have a recording of this actual bird that we spotted on our most recent tour. So very difficult to observe, but Danum Valley is one of the best places probably to see this bird. One of the great features of the Borneo Rainforest Lodge is the canopy walkway, which you can see here. It's a very solid construction, 300 metres of suspended walkway and several viewing platforms, 20 to 30 metres above the ground. So a great place to observe woodpeckers, spider hunters, malkoas, and many others. Here we have the whiskered tree swift. It's only one of two species of tree swift that occur in Borneo. That's the whiskered and the grey rump. Very distinctive, elegant, long-winged, fork-tailed variety. Reasonably common in the lowland forest. And the helmeted hornbill. A large hornbill with long central tail feathers. Also known for their maniacal calls. Fortunately, the helmeted hornbill is a bit of a tragic story. It's critically endangered, and the birds are in fact hunted for their skulls, for their casques. Unlike other hornbills, their casque is solid and known as red ivory. And a single head of the helmeted hornbill sells on the black market for up to $4,000 US. So. Look, it's one that we do occasionally get at the Danum Valley, but yeah, increasingly rare. A call that we hope to hear. There you go, the helmeted hornbill. So this fabulous creature is the crested jay shrike, an uncommon inhabitant, but a reasonable chance at Danum Valley. They're a shy, medium-sized, but unmistakable bird when seen well. For many years, it was a taxonomic enigma, listed with the corvids, but more recently elevated to unique family status. So not an endemic, but a monotypic family, and that is significant. And the Bornean spider hunter. This, along with the white-head spider hunter, are the two endemic spider hunters. This bird frequents the gardens at the Borneo Rainforest Lodge. In fact, this bird photographed from the restaurant. The maroon woodpecker. I had to include a woodpecker. It's one of 18 species that inhabit Borneo. They feature regularly on this tour, mostly in the lowlands. Of course, coming from Australia, the only forested nation on Earth without woodpeckers, it's a family that intrigues myself. It's a very nice example. A couple of the flower peckers. The yellow-rumped flower pecker is an endemic, and the orange-bellied flower pecker. Both very photographic subjects and species you can see in the gardens around the lodge. And some of the frogs. So this is the harlequin tree frog. I did mention Borneo is also famous for its rich amphibian fauna. At last count, 178 species, 80% of which are endemic. It's also home to the annual International Borneo Frog Race, which is a big day for frogs, involving 200 competitors photographing frogs and raising awareness for frog conservation. This one, the harlequin tree frog, is one of 4 so-called flying frogs. They use the webbing on their feet to glide. Quite a common variety at the Danum Valley. and a couple of the owl species that roosts close to the accommodation. We've got the brown wood owl. That's a young bird there with the fluffy head. And buffy fish owl, probably the most common large forest owl that we encounter. They're often found in forest clearings and rivers and gardens. Bornean tarsier, or the Horsfield's tarsier. So tarsiers are in fact tiny, goggle-eyed and highly charismatic primate species. There are 12 varieties, all of which occur in Southeast Asia, about the size of a tennis ball. They in fact have the largest eye-to-body ratio of any mammal. One of the truly fantastic varieties we hope to see in Borneo. Here's another strange creature, the Sunda Kalugo, also known as the Sunda flying lemur. They're in fact not lemurs, neither can they fly, but they do have an extraordinary adaptation, which is a fur-covered membrane between their legs for gliding. Taxonomically, then, although not closely related to primate, they have diverged some 80 million years ago in their own special family. And the Malay civet looks a little bit like a cat. They will also take small vertebrates like birds and reptiles, but mostly eat fruit. Fairly common. We often see this variety around the lodge itself. The pale giant squirrel this animal has a head tail length of 2.5 feet. It's one of the world's largest squirrels. This was actually photographed from the lodge itself. Maroon leaf monkey, another endemic primate. Those large eyes and slender bill. Red fur and long tails are one of the very distinctive varieties. You can also see the closely related silvered leaf monkey. And the green-crested lizard. It's just one of the many great reptiles we are likely to encounter. Okay, so that concludes the presentation. Hope you enjoyed that, and I also hope you consider joining myself and my friend, local expert Haswan Suban, on our upcoming tour schedule. For more details, including the detailed itineraries and trip reports, head to the event website. I think that's about it. Thanks again for your attention.
Yeah, thank you for that insightful and engaging presentation. It's always a treat to see Borneo come to life through your stories and photographs. And thank you to everyone in the audience for joining us today. We're glad you could be here. And before we close, I want to leave you with that important reminder that the next departure, Borneo, will operate March 13th through April 1st, 2026. So please contact Penny Seda, Operations Manager, to secure your spot on this adventure of a lifetime. If you are unable to make this departure, we will also tour in 2027. It's March 12th through March 31st, 2027. The price is not yet published. That is a tour limit of 8, and we have 2 available spaces. So now let's go to questions. Please put your questions in the chat or the Q&A section in your toolbar. Scott, we have a series of questions here from Gerald that I'll go down the list. He says, while we want to see many endemic birds and other avian species, will the trip also focus on other wildlife, especially orangutans? We must see one in the wild, and we would like to see proboscis monkeys and gibbons and pygmy elephants and flying snakes and lizards.
Well, I can guarantee the tour does focus on all aspects of wildlife. There's so much going on in Borneo, and certainly the mammals are a big priority. I'd also like to see a flying snake. That's not one that we've come across in the past, but Borneo is full of surprises. We like last time we were there, we just chanced upon the rough-necked monitor. It's a species I didn't put a photograph in, but like the reptiles are difficult to actually target. They're things that we chance upon more often. As far as orangutans are concerned, we've got a very good chance of seeing orangutans. Like we go to four different lowland forest sites, and orangutans are possible at all of those locations. So I would say yes, a good chance, but we never know. We have to we put ourselves out there, and we see what happens.
Gerald also asked, how difficult is the heat and humidity each day, and how long are the hikes, and are we on our feet for many hours each day? What are the physical demands of this tour?
Well, there's there are various walks, so we try and break it up. So we often will do a morning session and an afternoon session, and often in the lowlands, it is the heat and the humidity means the middle of the day we tend to take it easy. What I would say, in all locations where there is some walking, like Mount Kinabalu, we try and drive to a certain location and walk down the hill where that is practical. And we also have vehicles available. So we have support vehicles. If people do not feel like they can if they need to have a break or they need to have a rest, they can hop in the support vehicle and head back to the lodge. And so, same goes when obviously the Kinabatangan River, it's all in boats, so walking's not an issue. We sit back and we can enjoy the bird watching from a boat. But when we're at the Borneo Rainforest Lodge, there is a bit of walking. There is some walking, but again, we've got support vehicles, so people will do what they can. And if they are getting tired or they need a break or they don't want to attend a particular session, they can go back and sit, enjoy an extended breakfast and a coffee and bird watch from the restaurant itself. Like there's some good alternative options.
And how is the level of humidity in March in some of these lower lying regions in the rainforest?
Yeah, there's definitely some humidity. It's something I get used to, so I don't find it such a problem. It's much less. Obviously, it's a lot worse in the monsoon period. When we travel to Borneo in March, there's not so much a dry season, but it's a less wet season. The humidity is probably lower than at other times.
Okay, good. Can you speak about the local guides? Gerald asked, do you pick up local guides at each location, or you showed a picture, you referenced a local expert in the area, so he goes with the tour for the duration of the tour, is that right?
So Hazwan travels with us for the entire tour, and Hazwan is fantastic. If you've read any trip reports over the last however many years for Borneo, Hazwan, it regularly features for various in various roles. But at each location, we also have very specific local guides that may join us for a particular site. So yeah, we use as many of the local guides as we need, and there's plenty of expertise, local expertise at hand.
Here's a question: are leeches problematic?
Leeches, a lot of people have heard, of course, the leech factor in the lowlands of Borneo can be a factor. We do encourage people to wear leech socks, but to be honest, we don't tend to go off track. The leeches are more likely if you're going down these small, muddy, wet, muddy tracks, which we tend to avoid. So look, they are there, but I don't. They have not been a big issue. We usually get 1 or 2 leeches for the tour. Like it's not as big an issue. The first time I went to Borneo, I stayed in the Danum Valley Research Centre, where they used to talk about reducing your leech load. There were hundreds of leeches. It's nothing. It's nothing like that. It's not. I really take your leech socks, take your insect repellent, take the proper precautions, but I don't think you'll have a big issue with leeches.
John has a question. Do you reliably see the Raha Brooks birdwing butterfly?
We see a lot of butterflies, and unfortunately, that's not an area of specialty for me. So I'm not sure which bird's wing butterfly, but the butterflies are exceptional. I couldn't answer that exactly.
Well, we could ask the local leader. We could find out from him.
Absolutely.
Its likelihood. Yeah, we could get back to John on that one. Gerald has a question here. Is it worth it to do a trip to the Malay Peninsula out of Kuala Lumpur?
Well, that's a great option. Like if you're coming all of this way, and Kuala Lumpur, of course, is one of the big international airports that you can access Borneo from. I would say if you're coming all of that way and you want to make the most of that opportunity, that yes, definitely there's some great birding sites in the Malaysia Peninsula, the mainland there, like Fraser's Hill or Taman Negara. My thought would be yes.
I do want to say a note to our audience about our Borneo tour, the Vent Borneo tour. Some may ask why the price is higher than some of our competing options. And so I want to address that, if I may. So our Borneo tour is longer than most competing options, and it includes stays at more luxurious lodges, and it offers superior service, comfort, and amenities. And this ensures a richer, more immersive experience with the highest level of care throughout the journey. So I hope that you are strongly considering joining us for the 2026 tour in March with Scott Baker. It'll be a fabulous tour. Scott, can you tell us about scopes and photography? Do you recommend people bring their own scopes, or is there enough with a guide ratio? And then also talk about how bird photography, mammal photography, butterfly photography typically works on this tour.
Well, there's some fabulous opportunities for photography. It's one of the big features of Borneo. There's some incredible subjects, and we also get some amazing opportunities often at very close range, particularly when we're using some of the hides like we do at Trismati. So I would certainly encourage anyone that's got a camera to bring that and to expect to get some great images. As far as scopes are concerned, look, both myself and Haswan, of course, will have scopes available. We tend to, of course, if someone wants to bring their own scope, they're going to guarantee some opportunities. We do use them a lot, particularly in rainforest birding, where you may have a bird perched up high in the canopy, but we do have scopes available, and I think that the ratio is about right. We work through our scope etiquette and try and get everyone onto the bird before going back and having a better look at whatever it may be.
Well, very good. Well, it looks like that is the end of our questions for this segment. I do want to thank everybody for your time today. Thank you, Scott, for your wonderful presentation.
Thank you, Ben, and thank you, everyone. And look, I hope to see some of you in Borneo at some stage. It'd be great if you could join us.
Thanks, everybody.
All right.